Alright guys, sorry for the interruption there. My recording stopped working, so I had to make two separate videos, and some tomfoolery that went along with that. So I'll just pick up where I left off here and see if I can get the flow going again. Next up we have this guy, and as I stated in the last video, or the end of the last video, I get a real dopamine boost from this guy used in the one mini game where you have to make the star pattern, because like I stated, it's just really cool to see. It's just awesome. So, other than that, this thing sucks. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this in like C tier, probably end of C tier, just because you can't reliably use these. I've tried to strategize a little bit and figure out a way. You're basically going off of volume though, and especially in the ladder, like the roof levels. Real estate is very, very important. Real estate is just as much of a resource as some of these plants at some points. So, having this guy, especially with the curve in the roof, it's not working out. So yeah, this thing blows. Next up, we have our sun producer at night. It's good. It's the necessity. You would never bring this anywhere else. But for night levels, it's a requirement pretty much. So I typically use the crap out of these in conjunction with the freebies up there, and that sort of thing. So we'll go ahead and throw this. I'm thinking B tier, just because it's like, I don't know. It is what it is. There's not much to say about it. Actually, same as this one. Not much to say. It's just the standard sunflower. First plant you get in the game produces sun over time. It's a necessity as a building block to jump up to the double sun, which I love. So I'll put this end of A tier just because it's a little bit better than that guy. It does have an evolution. Okay, so tall nut time. Tall nuts are pog. Love tall nuts. I really like that they prevent dolphin zombies in the pool. I love that they prevent the pogo zombies. All of that. The only downfall would be the ladder zombie, which can obviously place the ladder and get over. But there are ways around that, aka purple mouth munch guy here. So I'm gonna put this in S tier. It's really great used in conjunction with some other things. I'll even put it ahead of the pumpkin because obviously the pumpkin's kind of, secondary or tertiary defense at that point. Okay, moving on to the swamp monster looking dude. One-time use really only saves your ass in pool levels, and if you plan properly and you don't suck at the game, you should never have to use one of these, in my opinion. So I keep this on the back burner in pool just because, there's not a lot of other great options, but if you are primarily using the land plants and in conjunction with this, lotus leaf there, lily pad, then you really don't need to be using this. I'll go ahead and put it in C tier behind the cherry bomb. Next up, we got the triple pea shooter. In my opinion, this thing isn't that great. It costs a bunch, right? It costs way more than it's 325 sun. It's not, in my mind, it doesn't hold a candle to the double pea shooter. Obviously, this shoots in 3 lanes, and it does have some pros to it, like especially if you get one of these per row, and you're able to dish out a bunch of damage, and then those effects compound. But 325 sun for that, really? I don't think so. I don't think that's the way to go. I'll throw this in like the back of C tier. I never really use those guys unless I have to, but yeah. The fiery stump log, pretty lit. I enjoy this as a multiplier of damage because it does do a really good job. This would conflict with any of the frozen strategies. If you wanted to go for the frozen pea shooter, obviously that's not going to work out. So because of that, it's not S tier. I'll go ahead and throw it into A tier though. I'm thinking right there, which ironically enough is the configuration you would use in the game. Preferably, you'd have a few of these double pea shooters as well in series with your stump log. That way your effects really start to compound. Moving on to the double sun. Double sun, if we're talking ROI, is probably your best bang for your buck in the game. Early game, early round, I should say, you're starting off with the single sun, and what I do is I typically get 1 or 2 single suns down, and then I'll upgrade those to the double suns. And what that does is if you get those down early game, your investment really compounds by the end of the round. Like at the most crucial point when the hardest zombies are coming out and playing ball, you're gonna want as much like capital as you can to deal with those zombies and to start replanting things. Obviously, you're going to start burning through your walnuts and your tall nuts and your pumpkins. You're going to start burning through random plants on those roof levels with the rope zombies, and it's really good to have these as a backup. So I really love just having absolutely as much income as possible because those effects really do compound. So this is going in S tier. I'm gonna put this guy here. That seems like a good spot for it. Next we have this guy. This kind of reminds me of an Oddish from Pokemon. It looks similar, I would say. Really not much else to say about it. It's pretty shit in terms of what it does for me. Because I do place so much stock in my double sunflowers here, on those roof levels, this doesn't really do a lot for me. First of all, it takes up a tile, right? That's a valuable tile that you can use for, a corn or a watermelon. You're not going to be putting these things so far out because you're going to want them back in the back lines protecting the heavy artillery. But they are, I don't know. They're just like, why would you risk that when you can literally just replace the same plant? And, if you plan properly and you have tall nuts and pumpkins to sacrifice, that gives you your recharge time, and that's it. Like, you don't need to be messing around with these guys. So this is a C tier plant for me. It's gonna go back here by the triple, and that's all I have to say about it. The walnut, very entry level, great. It's only a 50 sun plant versus the tall nut 125. I would say A tier plant just because it does get you into the region. It does provide